Hello, my name is Mr. Kelvin from Educare Institute. Welcome again in our lecture session, and today we have presentation based on Physics Form 2, and our topic to be discussed today is motion in a straight line. Within this topic, we have to cover some subtopics. Subtopic number 1 include distance and displacement. Subtopic number 2 include speed and velocity. Subtopic number 3 include acceleration. Number 4, equations of uniform motion. And the last subtopic to be discussed in this topic is motion under gravity. So now let's start with concepts which are being used in motion in a straight line. When we say motion, is a process of continuous changing in position of an object from one place to another place. The continuous process of changing in position of object from one place to another place, that is what we call motion. There is type of motion. There is two types of motion. The first one is linear motion, and the second one is circular motion. When we say linear motion, is a motion of an object in a straight line. Kwa tunapozungumzia linear motion, ni aina za motion ambazo zinatokea katika, tunasema straight line, katika mstari mnyoofu. Lakini when we talk about circular motion, is a motion of an object around the cycle. Kwamba circular motion ni aina za motion ambazo zinatokea katika vitu vinavyokuwa vinazunguka au vinavyokuwa vinafanya mzunguko wa duara, ndio tunaita circular motion. Example of circular motion, we can talk about the rotation of the earth. Tunavyoona dunia inavyozunguka, ile ni circular motion. So rotation of the earth is among of the example of circular motion of an object. Also, motion of electron around the nucleus. Jinsi electron zinavyokuwa zina round au zinavyo move around ile nucleus is what we say is a kind of circular motion. Kwamba ni motion along a circular path, that is a circular motion. But linear motion is the motion of the body along a straight line. So there is something called kinematics. What does kinematics means? When we say kinematics is a branch of motion, deals with the motion of bodies without considering the factors causing a motion. When we talk about kinematic, we talk about the branch of motion which deals with the motion of the body without considering what are the factors which make that object or that body to be in a motion. Kwamba tunazungumzia aina za motion ambapo hatutaangalia ni visababishi vipi vimesababisha ile object au kile kitu kifanye mjongeo. Hiyo ni kwenye kinematics. But dynamics means dynamic is a branch of motion, deals with the motion of bodies by considering the factor causing the motion of the body. Tukizungumzia dynamic motion au dynamics, we talk about the branch of motion whereby we deal with the motion of the bodies by considering the factors which cause that object or that body to be in a motion, as compared to kinematics whereby we didn't deal with the factors which cause the object or a body to be in a motion. So something to take note, we say that in general the factor causing motion is force. Kwamba kiujumla kitu kinachosababisha object au body to be in a state of motion, hicho kitu tunakiita force. Kwa hiyo force ndio itasababisha wewe uwe katika motion au usiwe katika motion. Lakini pia tunasema in kinematics the force does not put into consideration while in dynamic the force is put in consideration. Kama tulivyoona katika kinematics kwamba ni aina ya branch ya motion ambapo haiconsider factors which cause a object or body be in a motion, but in dynamic is a branch of motion which consider the factors which make an object to be in a motion. Kwa hiyo tukizungumzia kinematics kwamba yenyewe in general haielezei visababishi vinavyosababisha object au kitu kiwe katika motion, lakini tunavyozungumzia dynamic ni aina za motion ambazo zinaelezea visababishi vya motion. Na tumesema miongoni mwa factor au miongoni mwa visababishi vya kitu kuwa katika hali ya mjongeo au katika kuwa hali ya motion tunasema ni force. So there is terms used to describe the motion. Terms used to describe the motion, kwamba vitu ambavyo tunavitumia kuelezea mijongeo. Kitu cha kwanza tunaita ni distance. Kitu cha pili ni displacement, also speed, velocity, acceleration and retardation. By starting with distance and displacement, what does the term distance mean, or what does the term displacement mean? Distance, we say, is the length of the path taken by a particular object. The distance is represented by the letter a small letter s. Tunasema kwamba distance is the length of a path taken by an object but it have no a specific direction. Hiyo ni distance na tunaiwakilisha kwa kutumia herufi ya s ndogo. The distance is a scalar quantity and magnitude as a magnitude but has no direction. Kwamba distance ni scalar quantity kwa sababu yenyewe ina magnitude but it haven't direction, kwa sababu unapofanya mjongeo ambao tunasema ni distance unakuwa hauna specific direction, lakini magnitude unakuwa nayo. Kwa hiyo hicho kinasababisha distance kuwa scalar quantity. When we talk about SI of distance is meter, but we can use other units to express the distance. Kwamba tunaweza tukatumia units zingine kuelezea distance. Kwa mfano tutumia mita au tukatumia kilomita au units zingine za umbali au urefu. Kwa mfano tukiangalia huu mchoro, let's say object ili move from this point, ili move ikaenda ikazunguka mpaka ikafika hii point. Hapo tunasema kwamba hiyo object au that body it move but it have only magnitude, but in terms of direction it haven't a direction, so it is non-direction motion, that is distance. But when you come to displacement, or when we talk about displacement, we mean that displacement is a distance moved by an object in a specific direction. Mjongeo uliofanywa na kitu katika uelekeo unaojulikana katika specific direction, huo mjongeo tunaita ni displacement. Kwa displacement is a distance moved by an object in a specific direction. So displacement is represented by the letter capital letter S. The displacement is a vector quantity. Kwa nini displacement inakuwa ni vector quantity? Tunasema displacement ni vector quantity kwa sababu ina magnitude lakini pia ina direction. kwa sababu imemove with a certain magnitude but also in a certain direction. Kwa hiyo unaweza ukaulizwa ni upi utofauti wa distance na displacement. Utofauti ni kwamba distance is the path taken by an object, but displacement is the distance moved by object in a specific direction. But also we say distance, it is a scalar quantity because it have only magnitude but it has no direction. But when you talk about displacement, is a scalar, is a vector quantity which having both magnitude together and the direction. So we say the displacement is a vector quantity as both magnitude and the direction, kama tulivyosema hapo nyuma. Tunasema the SI unit of displacement is meter, or other units are centimeter and the kilometer. So we can consider the diagram which shows the displacement. We have A and B. We have point A and point B, means the body we are moving from point A to point B with a specific direction, means it moves from point A to point B. So that make a displacement to be a vector quantity. So now let's consider on looking speed and velocity. When we say speed is the distance moved per unit time. So the distance moved by object per unit time is what we call speed. Speed is the rate of change of distance moved with a time. So speed, sometimes we can define it as the rate of change distance moved with a time. So the rate of change of distance moved with a time is what we call speed. The speed is represented by the letter, a small letter v. The speed is a scalar as magnitude only, kwamba speed kama speed yenyewe ni scalar quantity. Kwa sababu gani ni scalar quantity? Ni kwa sababu speed yenyewe haina direction but ina magnitude. Kwa kutokana na hiyo sababu speed inakuwa ni scalar quantity. So mathematically we can express speed as speed in bracket v is equal to distance divided by time taken. So v will be equal to a small letter s divided by t, whereby s means distance and t means time. So from v is equal to x time over t, then the S unit of speed is meter per second because we take distance then we divide by time. So the S unit of speed will be meter per second. Therefore, the S unit of speed, as we say, it is meter per second. The unit used is kilometer per second. Sometimes we use kilometer per hour to express the speed. It is valid also. Now let's come to look about velocity. When we say velocity is a displacement moved per unit time, we know that the displacement is a vector quantity because it have magnitude and it have direction. So velocity is the displacement moved per unit time. Or sometimes you can say that velocity is the rate of change of displacement moved with a time. So the rate of change displacement moved per unit time is what we call velocity. But also we say that velocity ni vector quantity. Kwa nini ni vector quantity? Ni kwa sababu velocity ina both magnitude lakini pia ina direction. And tunawakilisha velocity kwa kutumia herufi v kubwa. Kwa hiyo aliandika v kubwa anamaanisha ni velocity. So mathematically we can calculate or we can express the formula of finding velocity as displacement divided by time taken. So you will take v is equal to s divided by t. Then from v is equal to s divided by t, then the s unit of velocity is also meter per second. Therefore, the s unit of velocity, as we say, is meter per second. But sometimes we can express the meter per second into kilometer per hour. It also valid as a unit of velocity. So now let us establish the relationship between 1 kilometer per hour and the value of meter per second. Relationship between meter per second and kilometer per hour. We know that 1 kilometer is equal to 1000 meter, kwamba kilomita moja ni sawa sawa na mita 1000. Hii tuite ni equation 1. Lakini pia tunajua kwamba 1 hour ni sawa sawa, yani lisali moja ni sawa sawa na sekunde 3600. Kwa hiyo basi hii tuite equation 2. Then divide equation 1 to equation 2. Kwamba ukichukua equation 1 ukaganya kwa equation 2 utakuta ni 1 kilomita ukiganya kwa 1 hawa sawa sawa na 1000 mita ukiganya kwa 3600. Kwa utapata 1 kilomita per hour sawa sawa na 1000 mita ukiganya kwa 3600 second. So 1 kilometer per hour ni sawa sawa na 10, maana ukipunguza sifuri hapa itakuwa ni 10 mita ganya kwa 36. Kwa hiyo ukichukua 1 kilometer per hour utakuja kupata ni ukimultiply 36 both side utapata 36 km per hour sawa sawa na 10 meter per second. Kwa hiyo unaweza ukafanya comparison na hiyo. Kwa hiyo mtu aliyeandika 36 km per hour ni sawa na aliyeandika 10 meter per second. Huo ndio uhusiano uliopo kati ya kilomita per hour na meter per second. So there is type of velocity. Let's consider or let's look on various type of velocity. There is initial velocity, which is represented by a small letter u, and also final velocity, a small letter v, average velocity va, uniform velocity, and also instantaneous velocity. Hiyo ni aina ya velocity. Kwa hiyo tuangalie maana ya aina moja baada ya nyingine. When we say initial velocity is the velocity of the body at the starting of the observation. Kwamba pale unapoanza kuobserve a body ina start moving, the starting point pale ndo tunapata initial velocity of the body. But when we say final velocity is the velocity of the body at the ending point of the observation. Kwamba body imeshafanya mjongeo, ile point ya mwisho pale tunapo observe ile body ndio tunaita ni final velocity. Lakini pia tunasema average velocity is a mean of initial and final velocity. Kwamba ukichukua initial velocity ukajumlisha na final velocity then ukaganya kwa 2, hapo utakuwa umepata average velocity. So is a mean of initial and final velocity. We are talking about uniform velocity. That a uniform velocity is the type of velocity in which the rate of change of displacement with time does not change. Means as the time change, as the displacement change, but the velocity is not changing. That kind of velocity, we call it a uniform velocity. Now there is instantaneous velocity. Instantaneous velocity is the velocity of the body at any instant. Kwamba velocity ya object at any instant, at any point is what you call instantaneous velocity. Kwamba velocity ya object katika any instant, hiyo itaitwa instantaneous velocity. By saying so, let's have a task to perform in order to check if we understand the concept we learn. The first task is to distinguish between distance and displacement. As we say, there is difference between distance and displacement, but also we can distinguish between velocity and speed. By saying so, thanks for watching. Welcome on the coming session. Goodbye.